This is The Wide Window, Part 1. So in this episode, the Baudelaires get dropped off with their newest guardian, their Aunt Josephine, who used to be one of the bravest women in the world, and now she's scared by her own shadow. But it's kind of weird, though, because she lives in this house that is hanging over the edge of a cliff. What? I just... How does an overly paranoid woman like this live on the edge of a cliff? Like, it was probably one of those things that was like, it was a good idea when she was brave. Now, she just can't bear to leave it, even though it is probably dangerous. Actually, probably nothing. It is dangerous. So, anyway, Count Olaf catches up with them in this quiet little town next to this huge lake, and dons his newest disguise, which is that of a peg-legged sailor man. But not before getting this really weird, almost exposition dump. He runs into this guy who is part of the secret organization that the parents are involved with. So, they make it very clear that Count Olaf has some history with these guys. And even makes it abundantly clear that Lemony Snicket is a part of this story somehow. And honestly, I don't remember if Snicket was a character in the books beyond being the narrator, and being this guy who was trying to piece together the story of what happened to the Baudelaires. But yeah, he's part of the secret organization in this, which, granted, it would explain how he knows about the Baudelaires to begin with. And so yeah, Count Olaf dons this disguise and starts wooing Aunt Josephine, but in the end convinces her to commit suicide. Or at least supposedly commit suicide. One thing that was kind of a misstep in this episode is that at the end, when the Baudelaires think that Josephine jumped out of the titular wide window, Lemony Snicket comes on and makes it clear that while Josephine does end up dead, it wasn't the fall that killed her. Like, in fact, technically she didn't even make that fall. And I especially call bullshit on this because it has this weird cartoony outline of her in the window. Does that happen? That doesn't happen. Something else that I really noticed with this episode was the kids' dialogue is starting to come off really awkward to me. Like, it might have been like that this whole time, and I just never really noticed it. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's the lines themselves or just the way the kids are saying it. It just, some things about this, some things about the dialogue just come off really awkward to me. And there is a lot of extraneous dialogue, especially from Snicket himself. But, to be fair, it's Patrick Warburton. I could listen to him spout off random nonsense all day. The only other thing that I have to say about this episode is, before I say this, what I'm about to say might ruin Neil Patrick Harris's performance for you. So if you don't want to ruin, just turn off this video now. When I first heard about this series, when I first started when I first saw the trailers for it, and saw Neil Patrick Harris in all these different outfits, I was really worried that it was going to come off as essentially Barney Stinson if he used his disguises to kidnap children as opposed to getting laid. Seeing as how he's back to manipulating women for his own nefarious purposes, it's kind of coming off like that. And I don't really blame Neil Patrick Harris for this. I blame myself for having watched pretty much the entire series of How I Met Your Mother. So, yeah, that's about all I've got for this one. So, we'll see what happens in part 2.